Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gotham Sports Machine. I'm your host, Jack Healey, joined by my co-host, Mark Healey. Today, we're going to be talking some New York sports. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. The Mets aren't doing so great. The Knicks look like they're getting their act together, and we've got some, Jets and Giants to talk about too. So, I'm looking forward to today's show, buddy.
Yep, me too. We got a big game tonight for the Knicks. Series is 2-2. We've had a lot of ups and downs, some really bad downs, but we're evened up.
Yep.
And it looked like it really started clicking last game. Mike Brown finally gave the keys to Towns. They finally got basically everything going. The defense looked really good. The only guy who really didn't have it going that we needed to was Brunson, but he finally started trusting his teammates. He started distributing the ball. Rick Brunson yelled at him a little. He said, pass the ball, and he started to. And we saw the fruition down the stretch. Towns triple double. OG looked great. It's like everything finally started to come together, which
Yeah.
is
Right.
annoying because it was game four, but
Right. Well, you and I
finally.
talked about it. You and I talked about it. It's like they're not like the two losses were terrible, and they weren't taking advantage of the mismatch down there with Towns. And maybe Jalen Brunson was trying to do too much. Mike Brown, look, he did something in that last game that he hadn't really done, and he didn't bench Bridges, but he limited Mikal Bridges, but he limited his numbers. He got Clarkson in there, he got McBride in there. Both guys played great, and I really helped the defense too. I mean, the defense certainly was much better. They held them under 200, under 100 points, only scoring 98 points. Those guys played well, both Clarkson and Deuce, and that's really going to, it's really going to help as far as getting those contributions from the bench and giving Mike Brown confidence to call on those guys. If for whatever reason, I mean, and Bridges didn't play poorly. I think he was 3 of 5 from the floor. He didn't play poorly. He's always a good defender. But he hadn't played well up until that point, and maybe having those guys come off the bench, maybe that gives him a little bit more incentive as well.
And the real key was leaving Townsend with the bench. I mean, beginning of the series, it was like you couldn't even like fathom how Mike Brown was taking out Brunson and Towns at the same time. It just made no sense. The Hawks really didn't have an answer if they left Towns in. And Brown was just like he just refused. And then the second he did it, the second he leaves Townsend with the bench in this last game, they go on a run. Then you bring in Brunson off the bench. He hits a three, and it's like the whole game from there just took off.
Yeah.
You need to stagger these minutes right. You need to have it so that Towns is getting a good run without Brunson and getting his flow of the game and he can really take over when he's really in the center of the offense. And Mike Brown has to understand that, and he has to just give him the keys for the rest of the way and see where it takes him, especially for this first round.
Right.
You can't go. If you've been watching around the league, you see Detroit is already down 3-1 because they have just hammered Cade Cunningham, and down the stretch, it's him every single time. And the Magic they know what's happening. They know what's going to come, and they're starting to lock down on Cunningham. And that if the Knicks revert to that, and they revert to just Brunson dribbling the air out of the ball, which they did early in the series, they're going to lose to a worse team. You need to be able to trust your other starters, especially down the stretch.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, the way they played, what was that, Saturday night? Um, the way was it Saturday night or Friday night? I don't even
Saturday.
remember.
Saturday.
Saturday night. The days they all blend in.
Especially when the
But
Mets are
that's the
losing.
way they have to play. Like that's the way they have to play if they're going to be, if they're going to make this run, because they have to make sure Towns has to be the guy. And it's look, I love Jalen Brunson. I love everybody on this team. This is one of my favorite Knick teams, that I can remember. Um, but Jalen Brunson can't be the number one option all the time. When you have the whole point of trading for Cat is so that you had that, that really solid top player to share the load. And, if they're not going to take advantage of that, you got to wonder, where Mike Brown's head is at if he reverts back to the way he was making his substitutions in games 2 and game 3. But what do you think? What have you seen? What did you see from the defense, the defensive side of the ball? Did the Hawks just have a bad night, or did the Knicks up their defensive pressure against the Hawks starters?
I think it's both. The Hawks really have not shot well at all this series, and their best player has been shooting tour dates. Jalen Johnson really has gotten nothing going. And that's between Josh Hart harassing him, OG harassing him, Cat harassing him in the paint. And they just done a great job on the star players outside of McCollum. And even McCollum, the first few games he was going off. These last few games, like he's had good games, but they've limited him. And Josh Hart really has had a huge part of that. He's been honestly terrible offensively. I mean, he had a good stretch in the second half of last game, but like offensively, he really hasn't been good this series, but defensively, he's been a menace. I mean, every time the Hawks try to like pass it over the front, over half court, you just see him flying in, making a steal. He's either on the floor, laying down. Like he's always making these hustle plays and bringing the Knicks out in transition, which is huge for this series because the Hawks are one of the top teams in pace, and the Knicks are one of the lowest teams in pace. So to have a guy like Josh Hart just absolutely wreaking havoc on the transition, I mean, it's been really big, especially when the Hawks really haven't gotten any bench production outside of Jonathan Kuminga, and the Knicks have found some not great bench production, but they found energy out of Alvarado. They found energy out of Clarkson, big energy out of Big Mitch, who's been an absolute monster on the boards. Yeah. And we need to see that continue, especially tonight. Big game in the Garden. You got to put your foot down. You have to. If you lose this game, you lose all the momentum you just got, and you might even lose enough momentum to lose you the series.
Yeah, so, which can't happen. Would be unacceptable on every level. So, they got to come up big tonight. You're on your home court. Don't let what happened in game 2 happen tonight. Take control of this series. Do it in a convincing way. And I got to say, I really like that Alvarado kid. I know they picked him up late in the season. I know he's not like a 6th man or even a 7th man or even an 8th man for the Knicks, but I like his energy. I like watching him play. It reminds me of Precious a little bit,
Yeah, he just got that fire, and you need a guy like that, especially the way that Deuce, like he's started to pick it up a little bit.
Yes,
but, like he's not really a true point guard. Like Alvarado, you can trust to push the ball up the floor, get it to the big men, and he just gives you those high energy Grand Theft Alvarado steals where he comes out of nowhere and just picks a guy's pocket.
Yeah, and and they love him at the Garden. He's like a hometown kid, so you gotta love that. A lot of fun, a lot of fun for New York's football teams with the draft. I know we did a little bit of a breakdown before the draft, and now that we've seen, what these teams did, you seem to, the way we've been talking, you seem to like the Jets draft a little bit better than the Giants. So let's talk about the Giants first. And what hits, what misses. Well, what did you think about the Giants draft? Specifically what they did with that first round pick, the 2 first round picks.
Yeah, I mean, basically everybody's in love with the fact that Orville Reese fell to them. I mean, you look at the prospect and you can see why. I mean, he moves like a freak athlete. He's got the strength of like some of these 280, 290 pound D line, but he's not. He's like 240, 250, and he moves really well. He can play middle linebacker. He could play on the edge. Like he's a really good prospect. The only question you have with them is where are the Giants going to play him? I mean, you have to pretty much play him at linebacker to start because he's just not going to get that much time on the edge. You could rotate him in here and there, but he's just not going to get that normal playing time with guys like Burns and the guy they drafted last year. I can't think of his name.
You're asking the wrong guy. I don't remember.
Penn State edge rusher.
I can't tell you. Thibodeau? That who you thinking of? Oh no, Carter.
No, well, they have Thibodeau too.
Carter.
Yep, Abdul Carter. I don't know why I
Yeah.
couldn't think of it. And
Wow.
then
Can't believe I
middle
remember that.
linebackers, they just don't really have the depth. They signed Edmonds, but they don't have. I mean, Mike McFadden's coming off his injury.
Right.
You just don't have another guy to really compete with him. So you're gonna really give him the max of the reps at middle linebacker. And you love the pick, and you like the fact that they took a lineman in that second pick. The
Well,
only problems is just who you didn't get. It's you let the
right.
Cowboys get downs. You didn't get an
Right.
interior D lineman, and you just left some guys, some skill players on the board that you might have liked in a New York Giant uniform.
Yeah, but with the whole Maui Noah pick, they really need, I think that they're so intent on, because we talked about this, you got to build from the trenches out. I know you got to get skilled players when you can get them. But Maui Noah is a guy that really, could be like, I mean, people were talking about, oh, he could be an all pro right guard in his first, season. Let's take it easy with that. But they're intent on protecting, their quarterback. They're intent on opening up their running game. And this is John Harbaugh. He's old school. He knows that if you can control the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, having skilled players is great. But unless you can protect the quarterback and get to the quarterback, you got to have those things in place. And that's how they decided to go. They felt that they, would get better value later on in the draft, and they didn't even go with their next pick. They took Colton Hood, who's a corner. So they really want to, get better in that aspect on their defense. And they waited. What was that in the third round where they got Malachi Fields? And I mean, is he that much worse than Downs?
I mean, yeah, Joe
Yeah,
Downs is arguably the best player in the draft, and they play two
really.
completely different positions. I mean, Downs was like, and it's not even the fact that you didn't get Downs, you let him go to the Cowboys. So you're going to have to play him twice a year. You have to see him in the Dallas uniform, and your quarterback might be throwing him 5 picks a year. So it's like, I like the Maui Noah pick. I like the player, but a guard at 10, even a safety at 10 isn't like great value. So it's like either way, they weren't getting a premier position.
Right,
I
but if
just
he's a starter, if he's a
I don't love
starter and he's
guards.
good, I mean, that's not the whole point, is to get really good players and
Yeah, you could get a guard in the third, fourth round. That's good though.
I guess.
A potential all pro safety, like you just don't find those guys.
I
You know,
look,
I honestly, I mean, you compare him to Malachi Fields. I love the Malachi Fields pick. He was one of the positions that like I really thought they needed to get is a big time, big body receiver on the outside, and he
right,
can go up and get the ball. He's a
right,
red zone threat. He's a down the field threat. He didn't really get many opportunities at Notre Dame because they have two of the best running backs in the country.
right.
They're running the ball 50 times a game. They really weren't trying to chuck the ball down the field. But when CJ Carr found that, like when he was throwing the ball down the field, it was to Malachi Fields.
Yep.
And 75% of the time he came down with it. Didn't matter who was on him.
And
So
the Giants always have good look with Notre Dame players. So,
yeah, I like the pick. And he's a really good hardball fit because he's a really good run blocker.
yep.
And he's
Yeah.
gonna that's gonna carve out a role for him in this
Yep.
offense. And they didn't
Yep.
have that kind of receiver. I mean, you had Neighbors, you had Slayton. Like these guys aren't big. Like you needed a big
Right.
body, grinded out receiver. And they got that. Moving on to the Jets. And overall, I think I'd give the Giants like a B plus. I just wish they addressed interior D line, and I just don't love leaving Downs there. But I do like the Marigo pick. The Jets, I gave an A because I feel like they addressed damn near everything they needed to, except quarterback, which you weren't going to address really. I mean, they took a quarterback, but like you weren't going to get the quarterback in this draft. You weren't going to
Right,
get
but I
McVay.
mean, but before I know he's down the road and they traded up to get him, so he's not the most, he's probably the least important guy we're going to talk about in the Jets draft. But is Klubnik that bad? I mean, I know he didn't have a great season, but everybody wanted them to take other guys. Like what's the thing about Klubnik that, is so like, oh, he's terrible. I haven't seen anybody say that they're high on that guy.
Yeah, which is crazy because if you look at before the season, everybody had Clemson as the best team in the country. Klubnik
Right.
was winning Heisman. He was going top 5 overall, and he just had such like a streaky, iffy year, and so did Clemson, that it just completely tanked everything.
Right.
Do I think he's a terrible, horrible quarterback? No. I think he's got good touch. I think he's got pretty good size, and he's not gonna like go up and like he doesn't have the most insane arm talent, but he can layer the ball over the field. And I like the fact that they got a guy to learn behind Geno, and he just he's a lot better than Brady Cook. I'll tell you that much. Like he's the second best quarterback on this roster, and he's
Right.
young.
Right.
You took him with what? It was a fifth or sixth round pick. Like
Yep.
that's gonna be no harm, no foul, especially considering the fact you have 3 first round picks next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Geno's your quarterback. So you're probably gonna be picking in the top 5.
And if they could keep him upright, I mean, at least he'll be throwing that ball downfield. I mean, he's got weapons. He's got some weapons on offense. The offensive line's going to be better. But what did you think of David Bailey with their first pick? What did you think of that pick?
Seems like a lot of people are split. A lot of people wanted Arvell Reese, but I mean, if you're going strictly off the fact that you know where you're playing Bailey, and you didn't really like, especially for the Jets, you don't really know where you were gonna play Reese. You have a little more openness of the edge linebacker, and they might have been a little less decisive of what they're gonna do. And that's like the worst thing you can do for a player. The Cowboys kind of did it with Micah early, and it didn't matter as much because he was an all pro. It's just weird when you put a guy with like switching between middle linebacker and edge. It's just two completely different skill sets. One of them has to worry about pass coverage. One of them has to worry about setting the edge and being in the run game. I mean, you're diluting two completely different techniques and trying to do that as a young player, especially for Reese, who's only a 1 year starter. That could have really gotten to his head. But Bailey's a speed rusher. They right away he's a plug and play. All right, we're gonna put this guy in the D line. You go get the quarterback. Simple as that. What he has to work on is the run game and being able to set the edge
Right.
and maybe get a little bigger, fill out a little more. But as far as like the Jets getting what they needed at that pick, they needed an edge rusher. They got the best edge rusher.
And what about
Willie,
Kenyon? What about Kenyon Sadiq? What do you think of that guy?
he was an interesting pick. I mean, you never really knew where he was gonna fall because tight end's such a weird position.
Yeah.
Like some guys like they'll double up on tight end, and then some teams won't even take a tight end. So I like him. He's not your traditional tight end. He's not. He might not line up
Right.
on the line as much as your traditional tight end. He's more of like I could play in the fullback. Oh, I could play in the slot. You can really play him anywhere on the field. He's
Mm-hmm.
a mismatch, and he's got good, solid hands. He's a solid blocker. He can really do it all. He's a good athlete. He can move well. He's a, I like the pick purely based on the fact that I think they're drafting this offense for like their future quarterback. Like it seems like they're building this team everywhere except the quarterback, and then they're going to fill in the quarterback, which is good. I mean, that they've tried to do it the other way around for the past 10 years, trying to take the quarterback and then fill everything else out, and it's been horrible. Darnold didn't work out. Wilson was worse. Rodgers didn't even get to play.
Right.
And then when he did, he was not that
Dreadful.
good.
Dreadful. Well, look, I mean, it's like at some point, the Jets have to turn the corner, right? I mean, they have to. I mean, it's just a matter of, and look, I like what the GM has done so far. I like what Moogie's done. I thought he had a good draft last year. I mean, some things didn't work out, but I do think that he certainly has enough draft capital where unless he's completely terrible, and I think most people think that the Jets had a good draft. Omar Cooper Jr., another solid, player to add to the offense, right? I mean, that's a guy that's really going to help the Jets this year.
That's another weapon. I mean, this team
Yeah.
was severely lacking in weapons last year. They added Adonai Mitchell, but
Right.
like
Right.
he's gonna look a lot better in this offense now that he's got more pieces. Now you got Wilson, Mitchell, Taylor, Brees Hall, Cooper, Sadiq. Like now you got some names. And Geno's he's not the smartest quarterback, but he can get the ball to these guys. Like he throws a good ball and he can get the ball down the field. He might throw 30 picks, but he can also throw you 30 touchdowns. He's like one of those Jameis type of quarterbacks, which is
I mean,
good for
look,
fantasy.
he's had some really good seasons when in Seattle, he had some really good seasons. I mean, last year was a disaster, but the Raiders are a complete disaster last year. So,
Yeah. Yep.
you know, so I mean, maybe like, and again, he's got some history here, but it's ancient history. So hopefully they keep him upright, you know.
Moving on to the other miserable team of New
Oh,
York. Well, we can talk a little Mets and Yankees. I mean, the Mets have been absolutely miserable
oh,
lately. 9-19, last place, swept by the
swept
Rockies
by the Rockies.
at
Oh,
home.
oh,
I mean, it doesn't seem like it could get any worse than
it it
this.
it it, it could get worse. They could play worse. They could play
Yeah.
at even a worse rate. It doesn't. I don't see where. I mean, look, they start a series with the Nationals tonight. Don Mattingly is now the manager of the Phillies after the Phillies fire Rob Thompson. The Red Sox fire Alex Cora. Are the Mets going to fire Mendoza? I don't know. I don't know if the Mets are going to fire. People keep asking me, oh, shouldn't they? Should they? It doesn't matter whether shouldn't they, should they. The team is terrible because David Stearns built a terrible team. That's the end of the story. He changed the coaching staff. He changed the players. He got rid of guys that have been here, and he, brought in all his own guys, and they're all terrible. The guys who stayed from last year's team, terrible. Everybody's terrible. Luis Robert, terrible. I mean, he had a couple of games here and there, but he's been terrible. He's hitting like 125 in his last like 5 or 6 games. Brett Beatty's had a couple of moments, but he's been terrible. Mark Vientos has been terrible. Polanco can't make it. Polanco
On the
can't get on the
field.
field. Devin Williams, blowing saves, giving up, all kinds of runs. It's I mean, really, you could count on like half your hand. You can count on the guys that are playing okay, right? Juan Soto, got off to a hot start, then he got hurt. I mean, who else?
Juan Soto's the only hitter. Soto and Alvarez are the only guys with like respectable numbers. And then pitching wise, you got like Holmes, McLean, and
Freddie
Peralta.
Peralta's, he's not hasn't been fantastic, but he's been good. I mean, he's been fine. They just
Yeah.
don't score any runs.
They have the worst lineup in baseball right now.
Oh, but I
They
thought
have
this was a slump. I thought this was a slump-proof lineup. After they beat Skeens, opening day, everybody was doing a victory lap. Oh, David Stearns is a genius. David Stearns is a genius. Well, he doesn't look like such a genius right now. I'm sorry. I hate to be one of those guys, but I look.
I thought you were gonna be the voice of reason today.
I'm trying to. You know what? I know. I Me and Jack are talking. Jack and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, I'll try to be the voice of reason, but I'm miserable. I just can't."
I mean,
Well, you know what it is? It was the Phillies firing Rob Thompson, and Don Mattingly is now the general manager. And the funny thing about that is Preston Mattingly, his son, is the GM of the Phillies. So the GM, the son, this is be like you hiring me to manage your baseball team. That would go well, right? We would get along great if that happened.
I mean, it's just like they're the only team that's like on par with the Mets right now of how
Yeah.
bad they are.
Yep.
And it's just like it's disgusting. Like they are like they've been teetering on this for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
They've had a core that they've just like kept together. And it's like, oh,
Yep.
one more year, one more year, one
Right.
more year,
Right.
until you knew it was gonna fall apart. And if the Mets did that this year, and this was their core, the 2024 core falling apart, I would not be this mad. At least you
Right.
stuck with the guys, and then
Right.
you got the team at the deadline.
Right. Right.
Now you don't gut the team before the season, before you address the pitch. Like the problem with last season was the pitching. And
Yes.
if you look at the numbers right now, their pitching's good. They're a top 10 pitching team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Great. Great. You just now we have the worst lineup in baseball. Thanks, moron. You gutted the lineup, and now we can't even score more than 3 runs a game. You get
You're right.
outpitched and outhit by the Rockies, you are clearly doing something wrong. I don't care what month it
What
is.
did they score? 1 run in that series? 2 runs in
If
three
that.
games
Every game
against
was like
pitchers with like
3-1,
8
3-0,
ERAs?
3-2.
Terrible. Look, there's nothing good to say. People are like, oh, do I think the season is over? No, it's not over. But, we'll see where they are on Memorial Day. If they're 10, 15 games under 500 on Memorial Day, I'm still not going to say the season is over. But, thinking that you're going to make the playoffs when you're 15 games under 500 on Memorial Day, you're like pie in the sky. But I love baseball, so I'll keep watching. Certainly, I know you will too. But, at the end of the day, it's just you can't make it up how bad this team has been. You just can't make it up. And we're running out of time. What can we say about the Yankees? What a shock. They're playing well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as always. Dominant starting pitching, middle lineups got power.
Yep.
The only real question right now is Big G went down again.
Yep.
Who knows how long that lasts? Who do they call up? Is it
Well,
Dominguez?
yeah, they called up Dominguez. Dominguez is
All
up.
right. So we'll see
So,
if he finally can break out, get himself a role on this team, or is he just
yeah.
going to be a quadruple A player? Like it seems like the Mets have 19 quadruple A players, and they have a new triple A guy in the lineup every
Right.
night.
And I don't hate the Yankees. Jack hates the Yankees. I don't hate the Yankees. But,
I hate Yankee fans. I don't like the Yankees.
but we talk about it like it's just the problem is that people Yankee fans kill Cashin, they kill Boone, they say this and they say fire this guy, fire that guy, yet they're in the playoffs every year. They play at a high
Yes,
level
but
every year.
when's the
I
last time they?
Yeah.
When you're a Yankee fan, you don't expect to make the playoffs every year. You expect to be competing
Right.
for a championship every year,
Right. No, I
and
get
they
that,
really
but
haven't been
I
competing
would
for a
like to
championship.
have some of their lack of success. I would like that.
Yeah, I take it. I
I would
take
like
it.
that. Because
Yeah,
what happens. When you make the playoffs, it's crapshoot. And it is. It is.
yeah,
But it's like who gets hot, who pitches well, who performs well, who hits well. But it's just one of those situations now. It just can't get any worse. People say it can't get any worse for the Mets. Oh, yes, it can. Yes, it can. Trust me. I've
yeah,
seen it. Jack's seen it. We've seen it get worse. So we'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
Starting the series against the Nats tonight. Let's hope they try to win the series. At least look at the game tonight. Let's try to win tonight.
yeah. It's been another great episode of the Gotham Sports Machine. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We're basically everywhere. Gotham Sports Machine. See you guys next week.
Take care.